Well, June,
Yeah.
how are your relative layout and Git skills?
I think I'm improving.
Good. Now's the chance to find out. Welcome to Mobile Application Tutorials. My name's Nigel, and this is my
Hello.
beautiful wife, June.
Yeah, thank you.
She's the star of Wife Learns Android. Okay, so we're just going to carry on from the previous tutorial. We're going to use part of the previous tutorial where you learnt a bit about Git. So I'm going to use Git first to get your code that you worked on several tutorials ago.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to make changes to it and teach you how to position views inside a relative layout.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so first thing I need to do is to get your code.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my Git screen here. And so if I click on Android Wife Layouts,
Yep.
in this position here is the location of the repository for Android Wife Layouts. So I can just click on that and paste that. Now if I go to my Android Studio, I've closed all my projects, so I see this box. I'm going to select Check Out Project from Version Control.
Yeah.
I'm going to select Git.
Okay.
Now in the top line, Git repository, I just copied this location here.
Okay.
So I need to paste that into this location here.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to give it a name. It gives me a default name. And I'm just going to call Nige, just for the mates. And then we click Clone. Select Yes to open it. Just wait for it to open.
Yeah.
I'll select Add Root there.
Yeah.
Add the Git root. Just give it a bit of time.
Yeah.
Okay, it says it took 11 seconds down here to do my creator build. If I press Command 1, I can now see the folder structure. Let's open it up. And if I yes to that, I couldn't quite see what that file was. Okay. June, do you recognise this code here?
Yeah, that's the code I made.
Exactly. Now, if we go back to the directory structure and we open up the layout, and here's the layout.
Yeah.
And if we open up this design tab, there it is there. There's that.
Yeah.
Okay, just the main thing I want to highlight that we've got to concentrate on this tutorial is the ID button. We need to have an ID button. It's very important. As soon as we start adding extra views to our layout, we're going to refer to either the parent layout or another layout. Or another view in the layout. And we refer to other views by the IDs. So keep at the back of your mind, keep that we need an ID quite often if we're going to be aligning or above or below. Can often be to another view. Okay, so there it is there. So what I'm going to do here now is add another button. So I'm just going to drag another button across. I'm going to put it in this position here. Can you see those little green arrows?
Yes.
So not always is a view relative to the parent. A view can also be relative to another view. In this case, the submit button. So I'm just going to add my button here. And if we go back into text, here's my new button. I'm going to change the ID to Nige button. And can you see how layout above and layout end refers to this button here? Because it's calling this button's here ID. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this
Okay.
button here is referring to this button here for part of its positioning.
Yeah. Positioning, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we've done here. And I'm just going to change the text. I'm going to be super lazy. I'm just going to change the text in here to say Nigel's button. Save that. Go back to the design tab. There we have my button. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to replicate this in code. So what we see in this view here, again, we're going to be doing all of this section here. I wonder if I can highlight this. We're going to be doing all of this in code. Okay? Very similar to what you did last time, except this time we're going to be referring to this view by its ID. Keep ID at the back of the mind. Okay, let's go to the code now. So we have the button. I'll just close this so you can see a bit easier. Here's where you created the button, June.
Yeah.
Parameters you added to the button, and then here's the rules that you created for the button. Your button was dispositional against the parent, but we're going to be creating this button here, which is also relative to the first view.
Yeah.
This one here. So this button's actually missing something. Do you know what this button? You created this button from scratch, and it's empty. It doesn't have anything.
At the view.
No, no. This button's actually missing an element that's been set.
Okay.
So you created this button from scratch, but it's missing something. Do you know what it's missing?
Can I say again? Not sure.
Does your button have an ID? See this button, the XML has an ID.
ID, yeah.
Does your button have an ID?
There's like no ID here.
Yeah.
So ID dot R dot something. I forgot.
Yeah, but it needs an ID.
Yeah.
Doesn't have an ID.
Anyway, I need ID for that code.
Yeah. So we've got two ways of setting an ID.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you both ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first way down here is you can do, got to call the member, so you can call set ID, and we've got a method that will generate an ID for the view. Let's try this. So we've got this method here called generate view ID. Now let's see what that says. If I press F1 for help, it's added from API level 17. We are using a later API level than that, so that's okay. It says generate a suitable value for use in set ID. This value will not collide with ID generated at build time. So basically that means the value that the unique value that this is going to generate is not going to get confused by the values that you've created from your XML files. Okay, so we've generate view ID here. So keep in mind this. So we've generated a view ID for this button. Okay, so now that's method number one of setting an ID. I'm going to show you the other method while we're still here. So if we go into values, we can add a new XML file. So I'm going to create a new XML values file. And I'm going to call it IDs. Click finish. Add it to Git. Okay, so I'm going to add... So I add an item first. An item is going to be what's represented by a r.id. So the ID is going to be, let me call it June _ button. And we also need to add a type for this. And the type as an ID. We can just save that.
Mhm.
So we can also set the ID to June button. So we save this.
Yeah.
So if you want to add any IDs, you can add them inside this resource file. The good thing about this is we can associate a name with an ID. If we go back to our source code, we're setting an ID for it, but we need to use another method called to get the name back. But if we do this, let me make a copy of this. So if I go back into button, now I can do set ID by doing r.id by June button. So that's the other method of setting the ID. So you can use either method if you want, but this method can sometimes be easier because we're actually associating a name with the ID instead of just generating one by random using the method in the view. Okay, does that make sense?
I think I have to practice. Yeah.
So what we've done here,
Yeah.
June, is we've set ID.
Yeah. Set ID.
So what we've done is
Similar to the.
similar to this line here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the really important part if we're going to be referring to other ones. You've got two ways of doing it. One in code or one creating a XML files called IDS.
I see.
Okay, so now now our task is going to be, if we go back to here, click on the design tab, our task is to do Nigel's button in code. Okay? So, first thing I need to do is to create another button, just like what you did. And am I aligned yet? So I'm going to go Nigel button equals new button, exactly the same as what you did.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing I need a relative layout, same as what you did, layout parameters, Nigel params. The reason I'm looking is I could use your parameters if I wanted to, but best not. That's probably not good practice. So I'll write the code. And it's going to be exactly the same parameters. Relative layouts, what have we got? Layout params. And it's wrap content, isn't it, Jane?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, just what we did with your one, we're going to have to set those parameters to our view. So just let me do that, and then I'll put the rest of the code in the line above. So if we do this Nigel button, set layout parameters with Nigel parameters. Does this code seem familiar from your practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we can do the positioning here. Okay, positioning, if we go back to here, we can do this positioning here.
Yeah.
If we don't do the positioning, the button's probably going to end up in the top left-hand corner as a default position. Okay, so what positioning do? We need layout above this ID. Okay, so I've already set the ID for this button here as, what have I set it to? June button?
Yeah.
So the ID the ID I'm referring to is June button.
Yeah.
And the first one's going to be, my button is going to be above June's button.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that, add a rule for that in the code. So we'll do Nigel parameters, dot add rule. This first one's going to be a verb, so it's going to be, we need a relative layout above. And now what they call the anchor, which is the ID, it's going to be r.id June button. So what I've done here is I've set the layout for my button above basically your button, but I'm using a different ID. And so I've done the same for that line here.
Okay.
So my button is above, what's the ID for this? June button. Okay?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
I have to practice.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
what do we need to do now? We need to do the next line.
Yeah.
And it says align end again with your button.
Okay.
So we need to add another rule for that.
Okay.
Add rule, relative layout, dot, what was it? Align end, June?
Aligned. Yeah.
Dot, and it's the same dot
Same.
ID referring to the button above.
Yeah.
June button. Let me just double check. We've got align end to your button. What do we have here? Align end to your button.
Okay.
And we have one more, and that's margin bottom.
Yeah.
And I think you're okay with setting margins for views, aren't you? So we're going Nigel params dot. Was it set margins, June?
I think so. Yeah. Margin.
And it's bottom, isn't it? So left,
Left.
top, right. What was the value?
I don't know.
54.
54.
Okay, this is all the positioning done now. Okay, so, and then we set the parameters there. One thing we need to do is I need to add some text to my button. See how we set the text for Nigel's button to that? I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to be a bit lazy. You should do this in a string, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to do non-maintainable code, but just to highlight for time what we're doing here. So if we do Nigel button dot set text to set the text for the button.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to put a basic string in here called Nigel's button. So I've now set the text for that. So we can refer to your code there. So we just need to do one more thing. Do you know what that is, Jane?
Set the. Set. なんだっけ? What was it? Set the. Not text. Add view. No.
Yes. Yes. We need to add the view to the relative layout.
Yeah.
So what's the relative layout called? It's relative layout.
Layout.
And add our view
Add
to
view.
that.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Very good. It's called relative layout.
Relative layout.
No.
Layout and add view.
Exactly. And what's the name of the view I'm adding?
And let me see. Nigel bottom.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. So that's it. Because remember, we're not working off this XML file. We're just using this as a reference.
As a reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's done in the code here.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we try running that?
Yeah.
Main thing is we need an ID. You can use this line here or this line here, but we need an ID. Okay, so it might be easier just to create your own IDs resource file because you can easily add them and you can refer to your IDs with a name instead of just generating one. Just for the purpose of this, June. Just for the purpose of this, I'll just do one line here.
Yep.
And paste that above. If I wasn't going to use this, if we're going to use this above method from generate ID, to get the ID for that, it would be button.get ID. And so if we'd use this line here of setting the ID for it, or you could use or you could use that as well. But this is a way of getting an ID. So you don't know the name of your ID, you can still get an ID. Like if you had set the ID by generating an ID, you can get that ID by just calling get ID.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do that, I'll just comment that out. That's the other method, but I think it's easier to use this method here. Okay. Okay, so let's try running this code and see what happens. And record it for the audience.
Yeah.
How's that looking? That's done in code.
Looks alright, yeah.
It looks alright?
Yeah, it looks.
So do you think if I added some more buttons, you'd be able to do similar?
Yeah, after some practice, I will do the same. Yeah.
And you've got this video here as a reference?
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Okay, let me stop recording.
Yeah.
Okay, we've just got one final part to this. Well, two final parts, actually. Okay, so I'm going to set you a task now, June. So if we go back to our XML file here, bring up the design, I'm going to add two more views here. One's just going to be a large text view.
Yeah.
Can I drag that? See the little green arrow there?
Yeah.
Where it's positioning? It's a large text view. And I'll change the text to that. And I'm going to bring in a text field, just a plain text field here. And I'm going to drag that I'm trying to position this in a funny old place. Okay, yeah. So I've got these two views here. Just let me set the values for those views. So I'll just go back into text. See the two views there? So text view here, I'm going to change the text to June's views. June's views. You can set the ID to whatever you want in the code. The other one here, I'm going to add a hint there just to expand that a bit more. Hint and testing June's layout views. So let's go back to the design. That's fine. So we've got two new views here. One's there, one's there. And you can see that they're aligning to different views here. One's aligning to Nige button, one's aligning to your buttons.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to be mindful of that. When you create these two new views as well, for button, I will add an ID to that now, but you may have to add IDs to the other views. You might not have to, you'll just have to check. Anyway, let me go to the code here, and I'm going to add another resource ID, and if I call it Nigel's button. Now, if I set that ID in the code like this, so set text, I'll just put it above set text, Nigel button dot set ID dot ID dots. Oh, it's Nigel's button, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nigel's button there. So I've now set the ID, so you've got the ID for this button and this button to do your alignment for. Okay. Now we've got the code here. I need to give that code to you. What would be the best way of me giving the code to you?
through Git.
Yes, well done. So the first thing I need to do here is there's a bug in Android Studio. It's an update to our Capitan. There's a bug, so if I try and do it using the GUI, it will fail. So let me open up the terminal and increase this window and type git status. Okay. And there's a bunch of files that we've modified, but you can see I've added 2 new files here. So I've added a new file there and I've added the IDs file. So what I'm going to do here, June, is just click on here. I just want to see what Android Studio says are the files I need to change. So it's going main activity, X amount. And 4 files there. Okay, so it's a total of 8 files there. And we've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm just going to add all the files. So you can do this command here. Git add dot means all. Okay, when we click git add dot, we're adding everything to Git ready to be submitted into our local repository. So if I click git status now, it says these are the files that are going to be submitted to my local repository. So then I just need to type, because there's a bug somewhere in Android Studio, I believe, and well, I'll just put Nigel's changes, adding additional views. Oh, I can't put, unfortunately, I have to delete this or else I have a problem in the command line.
And the another one.
I know, at the end it's, oh yeah, changes.
Yeah,
well
changes.
spotted. Programming skills, spotting problems like that. Okay, yeah, so then I hit enter and it's telling me these are all my local changes. Right, I made the changes locally in my machine. I now need to push up to the repository. So I can just type this command, git push to the repository. Origin is like the it's my location, that's how I refer to my repository when we set it up from the previous tutorial, and master branch. So if I type that, hopefully it's going to push my code changes back up there, and then you'll be able to get those changes and pull them down to your computer. That's happened there now. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now let's move across to your machine. Okay, June, so we've now opened your Android Studio and you press the tab at the bottom down here to open up the terminal. We're probably just going to use a terminal command to get my changes back down into your local machine. Do you remember how I typed git
status?
No. Do you remember how I typed git push origin master from here?
Yeah.
You're going to do the opposite. What's the opposite of a pull?
Git.
So what's the opposite of a push?
Git pull.
Yeah. So can you type git pull origin master?
Yeah.
Try entering that. So hopefully you're going to bring down. Oh.
What's that?
It's basically telling you the changes that have been made to these files because you've pulled them off the repository.
Yeah.
So viewers, if you've been following the last tutorial and this tutorial, you can do the same as June. You can actually get my changes I've made as well. And I'll explain the exercise that you have to do. Okay, June, now let's look at your source code. Does it look different than before?
Yeah. It changed.
What's changed about it?
About the new code was it that you made
Yes.
for the button, new button?
Yeah. Okay, so we now have some homework for you, June.
Yeah.
If we click on the layout.
Yeah.
If I open up the layout file. Okay, so you originally added the submit button.
Yeah.
I added Nigel's button.
Yeah.
Your homework is to add these two views in code. To add that view and that view in code.
In code.
Yes. So what you need to do is use this as a reference.
Yep.
So this is like your template.
Yep.
So you've got the instructions on how to align.
Okay.
You've also got the information on the anchor points for like layout above,
Okay.
Nigel's button.
Yep.
Layout above,
Yep.
button.
Yep.
Align start button. So you've got information of the IDs required.
Yep.
And you've got the information of the positioning,
Yeah.
as well as setting
Yeah.
up the text
Yeah.
for these buttons. Is that clear?
Yeah.
So what you need to do is where's your file? You need to create two more views for your text view and your edit view and add them in code to here. So you've got mine as a reference. We've already added the ID, which is very important for your button and my button. And I don't know whether or not you have to add any more IDs, maybe not, but just keep a lookout.
Yeah.
Always use this as your, let's go back to text, always use this as your reference. So do you think you can do that, add two more views in
Yeah, I
code?
will follow, yeah.
Okay.
The video.
So if you can do that as homework, and then can you, once you've completed it and tested it on your phone, can you upload the changes back to GitHub for all of us to see?
Okay, try that.
Do you know how long that's going to take you?
I'm not sure. I try my best, but
Do you want to give us a day so we all know what to expect?
a couple of days.
So let's make, hopefully next Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, because I have something to do as well, so yeah.
So hopefully if you can upload your changes for all of us to see next Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, I'll try that.
Great. Okay, I think that's it. Quite a long tutorial, this one.
Yeah,
Quite a lot of stuff to
okay,
learn.
it's good, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you enjoy these types of tutorials, and I've been doing quite a few other tutorials as well, click on that subscribe button. And now you'll see us surrounded by my social media icons, and there's also my website that I haven't talked about before. My website's where I collect everything. We've got information of GitHub, we've got the video, and there's also documentation about tutorials there. So if you want further information, I encourage you to visit my website and follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, whatever, I don't know what you're doing, Pinterest, and there's always a lot of discussions on Google Plus as well. So check those out as well. Okay, that's all for this one, and it's bye from Nigel.
Bye from June.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.